Friday. Welcome to the late edition of the social media scene. How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, on today's show, we're going to talk about Facebook. Definitely got to talk about Facebook and all the drama that occurred with Facebook this week, and especially all the drama leading up to the trial that happened this week, the Senate trial, with the whistleblower. That's what we'll be talking about. So we're going to give you a timeline of what led up to that. And I want to talk about what does this mean for marketers? After we've heard all the drama that's been going on with Facebook and Instagram, some of which we already knew, do we change how we use Facebook, or will we keep it business as usual? That and more is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. I will be right back.
Engagement-based ranking, Facebook says we can do it safely because we have AI. The artificial intelligence will find the bad content that we know our engagement-based ranking is promoting. They've written blog posts on how they know engagement-based ranking is dangerous, but the AI will save us. Facebook's own research says they cannot adequately identify dangerous content, and as a result, those dangerous algorithms that they admit are picking up the extreme sentiments, the division. They can't protect us from the harms that they know exist in their own system.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to today's episode of the social media scene. That's a lot. That's just a little snippet from the Senate hearing committee. And that is the whistleblower, the Facebook whistleblower, Frances Haugen. Haugen. I think so. Haugen? Haugen. Yeah. Frances Haugen. So we're going to talk about her and what led up to that Senate hearing today. And also, just want to ask, do we change how we use Facebook from here on out? How does what we know about Facebook now change how we use Facebook as individuals and as marketers? That's what's on topic for today. Yeah, there's some other things going on, but that's what we're talking about today. So for those of you that are new, hey, how you doing? I am Alice Fuller, principal consultant at Sheer Social. Now you might be wondering, now what is Sheer Social? That is my social media marketing and training business. I do some, social media management too, but primarily I do consulting, training, and teaching. Yay. Now, what is this? This is the social media scene. This is where every week I share with you what is going on in the world of social media. Now, I can't share with you every blessed thing, but I try to share with you what is pertinent to how you use social media for business and some fun. And when I can, I add a little entertainment flavor to it, a little television and film, because in a minute, people, it's just all going to be media. So that's what this is. So if you are new, if you come every week, or if you're watching the replay, go ahead, do me a solid. Share this stream with friends and frenemies. Share this stream with them, especially in those places and spaces conversations about social media are going on. So that's the rundown for today. So let me give you a little bit of background, just in case you have been living under some proverbial rock this week. Actually, for the last 2-3 weeks, in fact. When we start thinking about Facebook, how we use Facebook, it is still the most populated social media platform. That indeed is true. And in many instances, it is the main social media platform for your business, and Instagram too. And for some of you, it is become the go-to and the mainstay, especially in how you use social media for business. That and Instagram. And probably too for those of us who are live streaming and maybe some gamers and some other things. But two, we're also using Facebook in how we engage with our family and friends, probably a lot more than we're engaging with businesses these days. So, as we're thinking about how we use social media and what has led up to all of this drama in the last 2, 3 weeks with Facebook and Instagram. So, let me give you a little timeline of what led up to this moment. It's been a lot. So, here you go. First, we had the Wall Street Journal. We had the Wall Street Journal, thanks to some findings from the whistleblower. They put all Facebook's dirt in the street for the most part. And then, two, we had Facebook for Kids, thanks to the information that was released in the Facebook files. Facebook decided, you know what? Maybe we should pause. Maybe we should pause Instagram for Kids. You think? Maybe so. Maybe now is not the best time, because the sentiment around that particular platform was not the best to begin with. If y'all remember last year or so, when this was just announced that Instagram was going to do a version for kids, there was a lot of pushback. And despite the pushback, Facebook decided, you know what? We're just going to go ahead on with it. And also because of what was revealed in the Wall Street Journal files, and some of which I'll show you in just a second, Facebook probably thought, you know what? Let's just let this die down a little bit, table it for right now, and we'll come back to it, because all this talk about the impact Instagram is having on the mental health of kids, that's nothing new either. We've been having that conversation for a little while. But this newest thing about the impact Instagram is having on young girls, 13-year-old girls and the like, and their self-esteem, technically that's not new either, if we're honest. But it led to the pause of Instagram for Kids. Then that led up to the first Senate hearing with Facebook executives. hmm And that particular executive was trying her best to explain what a finsta was. And I'm laughing because it's not funny, but it is funny to a degree. But she was also trying to explain that, based on Facebook and their research, that everything is not as bad as it's being reported. There's some good things that Facebook has been doing. Okay. But you know what? When you're reporting on yourself, I don't know if you can trust everything when you're doing all the reporting on yourself. But nonetheless, Facebook did its own internal report, came back and said, hey, we're not so bad. Oh, all right. Okay, so then that was the first Senate hearing. And then that's where you hear some of the committee talking about Instagram being like kids getting their first hit of dopamine, or taking their first cigarette, and how addictive the platform has become. Okay, so then after that, we finally get to meet the whistleblower, Frances Haugen. Haugen. I think it's Haugen. Yeah. Frances Haugen. She tells the world, I am the one that leaked the documents to the Wall Street Journal, which then created the Wall Street Journal's Facebook files. And now I am going before the Senate committee myself to further explain what's going on. Then October 4th, October 4th, just earlier this week, every damn thing shut down. Facebook shut down, Instagram shut down, WhatsApp, Messenger, all the Facebook properties taking up major real estate on your phone, everything was shut down. Now, Facebook, they said it was, a little technical problem on the back end. Okay, so it's possible, maybe even probable, but damn sure it's timely, if nothing else. Okay, you get through the takedown, or for lack of a better word, the breakdown of Facebook and all of its apps. And some of you began to realize, maybe now would be a good time to start pushing my business to something else besides just keeping everything on Facebook and Instagram, Messenger, and WhatsApp. You think? So, October 5th, just a couple of days ago, all of this stuff led up to Francis appearing before the Senate subcommittee, and them basically putting her in the hot seat and asking her about her experience at Facebook, her insights at Facebook, and she spilled all kinds of tea. Now, here's the thing, a lot of this we kind of knew, nothing new. For those of us who work in social media, for those of us who work for the tech companies and things of that nature, it wasn't relatively new. But for a lot of you that watch this show who are not eyebrows deep in social media like I am, this might be a little new to you. I mean, it's coming in one ear and coming out of the other. So you may not necessarily understand how important this is in how you use social media and how it could impact how we use social media, specifically Facebook and Instagram, in the future. So, again, let's go over to first the Facebook files that the Wall Street Journal published. Let's go over there to that. I want y'all to see this because I want you to see this for yourselves, not to mention. As we see here, that's the podcast that was created that we're looking at now. But this is the file itself, the Wall Street Journal Facebook files. No, I ain't getting no subscription, so you can kill that. So, Facebook Inc. says knows in acute detail that its platforms are riddled with flaws that cause harm, often in ways only the company fully understands. Okay. All right. So then you can read that time and time again. The documents show Facebook's researchers have identified the platform's ill effects time and time again, despite congressional hearings, its own pledges, and numerous media exposes. The company didn't fix them. The documents offer perhaps a clearest picture of how broadly Facebook's problems are known inside the company, up to the chief executive himself. That would be Zuckerberg. So this right here is the Facebook files, and it's pretty deep. I would suggest looking at this yourself if you have time, or even if you just have some interest, and just see how many reports that Facebook did for its own self. And it's not like at the end of the day, Facebook didn't know. We all knew Facebook knew. But it's interesting as you read through this to find out just how much Facebook did know about its own platform and the harm that it was causing. And then you question why Facebook didn't do more. Why Facebook just kind of turned a blind eye to it. Right here, how Facebook hobbled Mark Zuckerberg's bid to get America vaccinated. So Facebook is so integrated into everything we do right now. So the question goes back, why would Zuckerberg and his crew, his friends, and everybody who works there, especially those in the executive suite, knowing they had this problem, why did they not address it? Better address it. Okay, so that's the Facebook files created by Wall Street Journal, but the source of a lot of it came from Frances Haugen. Okay, she is the quote unquote the whistleblower. Dun dun. Now, here's the thing. Of course, when that was released, Zuckerberg responded. And it's what we expect Zuckerberg to do. I mean, technically, he understands this is a PR nightmare for anybody. So at the end of the day, when you start thinking about what Facebook knows about itself, let me show you what his initial response was. Okay, let's go over here to Facebook and what Facebook says their research says about them. Let's go over here. Now look here. what our research really says about teen well-being and Instagram. Okay. All right. So this is a September 26th initially, and then it was updated September 29th. Okay, so contrary to the Wall Street Journal's characterization, Instagram's research shows that on 11 on 11 of 12 well-being issues, teenage girls who said they struggled with those difficult issues also said that Instagram made them better than worse. This research, like external research on these issues, found teens report having both positive and negative experiences with social media. Duh. We do internal research to find out how we can best improve the experience for teens, and our research has informed product changes as well as new resources. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, of course, product changes, but yeah, but they were not significant changes. Not at all. So he says, in advance of Facebook's global head of safety, Antigone Davis, appearing before a Senate Commerce Subcommittee on Thursday. That was the first time we hear from that Senate committee. Uh, Facebook says we want to be clear about the research recently characterized by the Wall Street Journal. Okay. Basically, they say it's simply not accurate. This research demonstrates Instagram is toxic for teen girls. Toxic? All right, well, toxic might be a heavy word for some, but at the end of the day, we get what that really means. It's bad. It says the research actually demonstrates that many teens we heard from feel that using Instagram helps them when they are struggling with the kinds of hard moments and issues teenagers have always faced. Okay. I mean, what teenagers are they talking to? But you know what? Every time you do a study, there's always a group of positive, but there's also somebody, you can always find somebody to say quite opposite. A whole bunch of people say it's bad, and then you find, those group of people that say, well, I didn't have a problem. So that's not so surprising. It says body image was the only area where teen girls who reported struggling with the issue said Instagram made it worse as compared to the other 11 areas. The majority of teen girls who experienced body image issues still reported Instagram either made it better or had no impact. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is Facebook's response. In other words, well, our research, according to the people we talk to, it ain't that bad. So I don't know where y'all got all that information from, as far as Francis and her reports are concerned. But the people we talk to, of course, said Facebook and Instagram specifically, is doing a service, not a disservice. Okay, so that's the response that Facebook gave initially. All right. So as you think about what's next, then, so you get one quote unquote bad report. Facebook says, you know what? It's not that bad. It's not that bad at all. Okay. Well, Congress says, you know what? Well, it's bad enough. It's bad enough that we are going to call you on the carpet. Bring Miss Antigone forward. So, of course, like I said, she had to appear before Congress, and I can't say it went as well as you might think. Okay, let me show you this. And what I say by that is, on one end, yeah, there was a little rub. Let me show you.
Tendencies is so deeply repugnant. Facebook knows from its own report, undisclosed previously, that it found in December 2020 a survey of over 50,000 Facebook users that, quote, teens, women of all ages, and people in Western countries experience higher levels of both body image concerns and problems with appearance comparison on Instagram. In an April 2021 report, which also has not been disclosed, It found a quarter of teen girls felt discouraged about their own life and worse, about themselves, often or very often after using Instagram. Another undisclosed report, March 2020, found, quote, social comparison is worse on Instagram, and, quote, in part because its recommendations, quote, enable never-ending rabbit holes, and because it, quote, perceived as real life. I don't understand, Ms. Davis, how you can deny that Instagram isn't exploiting young users for its own profits.
Thank you, Senator, for your question. I'd like to speak specifically to this as an experienced mom of a teenage daughter, as someone who was a teenage girl herself, and as someone who's taught middle school and teenage girls. I've seen firsthand the troubling intersection between the pressure to be perfect, between body image and finding your identity at that age. And I think what's been lost in this report is that, in fact, with this research, we found that more teen girls actually find Instagram helpful. Teen girls who are suffering from these issues find Instagram helpful than not. Now, that doesn't mean that the ones that aren't important to us. In fact, that's why we do this research.
Well,
It's
if I
leading
may
to
interrupt
product
you, Ms.
changes and
Davis,
the ability.
these are your own reports. These findings are from your own studies and your own experts. You can speak from your own experience, but will you disclose all of the reports, all of the findings? Will you commit to full disclosure?
Well, I know that Senator, thank you. I know that we have released a number of the reports, and we are looking to find ways to release more of this research. I want to be clear that this research is not a bombshell. It's not causal research. It's in fact just
Well, I beg to
directional
differ
research
with
that
you,
we
Ms.
use for
Davis.
product changes.
This research is a bombshell. It is powerful, gripping, riveting evidence that Facebook knows of the harmful effects of its site on children and that it has concealed those facts and findings. So I ask you to commit that you will make full disclosure, all of the thousands of pages of documents that the whistleblower has and more.
Okay. And more. So, as you see, mm, Miss Antigone or Mrs. Antigone Davis, nah, they wasn't feeling her too much. Not a little bit. Now I understand, she says she's a mom, she's a teacher, she's this and that and the other. But at the end of the day, right now, she's a businesswoman. Let's keep that in mind. Okay. So as you see, lots of reports being made, lots of reports have been done internally. A lot of them have not been released. And as you saw, the I think Mr. Blackburn, no, Blumenthal, Mr. Blumenthal, that's right, Mr. Blumenthal, he wants all the reports. Give me all the receipts, all the reports right now, today. Stop hiding and giving us what you want us to see and give us the real deal. Okay. All right. So that was bout number one. And then after that, we had the whistleblower on 60 Minutes. I haven't watched 60 Minutes in forever. I did not see the 60 Minutes show, and I haven't seen it on YouTube yet. I've seen snippets of it on YouTube, but the biggest thing to that was this was the first time we got to see we got the name of the whistleblower. So it's interesting to me when you start thinking about Facebook knowing this person was out there. And then if this person was indeed working for the company, where does she work? Uh was she in did she leave angry? I mean, you can imagine all the thoughts that were going through people's head. And then when you finally get to see who it is, it's like, oh, I remember Frances. She was cool. But she was always in the office copying stuff. I always wondered what she was doing. And well, now you know. Now you know what Frances was doing. Frances was getting all the receipts she needed to have. Now, she worked as a product manager on the civic integrity team at Facebook. So the fact that she appeared publicly for the first time, I would imagine, was a little intimidating, especially for her. But she also, in that 60 Minutes interview, talks about what we kind of saw in the Wall Street Journal Facebook files and some of the other documents that she will come to reference when she herself, just a couple of days later, appears before that same Senate committee. All right, so then after that, after the 60 Minutes, all hell breaks loose. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, they all go down. What? The timing of it is not lost on anybody. Not a soul. None of us. I mean, I don't even believe in the notion of coincidence. And I'm not even believing this was a coincidence either. Not even a little bit. So there is an explanation though. Of course, Facebook has an explanation, and it's a techie one. Something that might be over the heads of some, like me, and some other people too. But nonetheless, let's just go find out what happened when four major apps on your phone, most people's phones, all of them, none of them worked. And it's funny because then people realized just how integrated using not just your smartphone, but using these four apps had become in your life. And for those of you that do business, majority of your business on Facebook, for 6 hours, you could not conduct your business. How did that feel? So that's a lesson learned in and of itself. So let's go over here to the browser once again so y'all can see this. Okay. So as you see here, update about the app, about the outage. It says to all the people, businesses around the world who depend on this, there's an apology. We're sorry for the inconvenience caused by today's outage across our platforms. Talking about we've been working hard to restore the access. Our systems are now back and running. Okay. Our engineering teams have learned that configuration changes on the backbone routers that coordinate network traffic between our data centers caused issues that interrupted this communication. This disruption to network traffic had a cascading effect on the way our data centers communicate, bringing our services to a halt. Huh? Okay, could they simplify that a little bit? Something went wrong, and because that one thing went wrong, and then that one thing coordinates with another, with a whole bunch of other things that drive traffic between all our different apps, it interrupted every damn thing. And we do mean everything. That's what a cascading effect generally means. So I really, really simplified that to the nuts and bolts. But at the end of the day, this is a real techie kind of conversation. And for the most of us, the regular people like me, it's just like, just tell me some wiring went wrong in the back. Something. But what's funny to me too is how many people discovered Twitter or rediscovered Twitter. Kind of funny because usually when something goes bad on WhatsApp, Facebook, anywhere, specifically the main platforms, everybody runs to Twitter to find out if indeed it is true. Oh, that's funny. And then of course, not Facebook, but Twitter's like, "Hey, everybody, welcome. How you doing? Take a seat. You want some water? Get comfortable. We haven't seen you in a while. And while you're here, think about staying. You're gonna be here a minute. Get a Snickers." But at the end of the day, people learned a valuable lesson. You can't rely on social media alone for your business, people. I know I'm not supposed to say that as a social media quote unquote professional, but at the end of the day, all of my clients, since I started way back over 10 years ago, I've been saying it from the jump. Social media is your welcome mat, but it is not your entire business. It is not where you want to put your entire business, and for reasons such as this. If you don't have that email list, you don't have the phone number, if you're doing mobile marketing, some other way of getting in contact with your audience and or your client base, you're leaving money on the floor, not even on the table, it's on the floor. Okay, so let's move on from this. So you had the big shutdown. I don't want to say a because shutdown makes it sound like they did it purposely. I'm not saying it was done purposely. I'm not saying anybody at Facebook pulled the plug on some stuff and figured out how to, relay that in a PR way to make it look like it was so accidental. I'm not giving in to any conspiracy theories. I'm just saying the timing of it was damn convenient. That is what I'm saying. And I don't believe in coincidence. I'm saying that too. That's just me. All right, so let's move on. Now, the next thing was, of course, that was Monday, the big outage. Then Tuesday, Francis Haugen, the whistleblower, appears before the Senate subcommittee. Dun dun. Okay, if y'all haven't watched a little bit of this, I would say please do. And you ain't got to watch all of it. I watched a good majority of it. But I would say, yeah, you want to watch it. You do want to watch it. Oh, here's something else too. Let me share with you before I go down that road about what happened at the Senate uh, hearing. Let's share what Zuckerberg had to say about the Wall Street Journal. Now, I shared a little bit of that, but I want you to see what Zuckerberg had to say around October 5th. This was after the 60 Minutes. So let's, in all fairness, I gotta give you the other side and give, Zuckerberg an opportunity to explain himself. So in this long, really long post, he talking about it's been quite a week. I want to share some thoughts with all of you. I bet you do. I would love to know how long it took him and how many versions of this he had uh before he put it on Facebook, because there was some revisions and revisions and revisions. So of course, this first, the SEV that took down all our servers yesterday was the worst outage we've had in years. Uh-huh. We spent the past 24 hours, okay, all right, fine, debriefing how we can strengthen our systems. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Now, secondly, now that today's testimony is over, and that was with Antigone Davis, I want to reflect on the public debate we're in. I'm sure many of you have found the recent coverage hard to read because it just doesn't reflect the company we know. It reflects the company I know. I don't. Who is we, Zuck? Okay, we care deeply about issues like safety, well-being, and mental. Uh-huh. I think most of us just don't recognize the false picture of the company that is being painted. How you gonna say it's false, dude? I mean, it's receipts. I mean, these are documents coming directly from the organization. I could see if old girl made some stuff up, but she didn't. She took these directly from the source. So at any rate, many of the claims don't make any sense. Okay. If we wanted to ignore research, why would we create an industry leading research program to understand these important issues in their first place? Okay, the fact that you created it, Zuck, you created it, but then when they the uh, give you feedback in their findings and everything, you don't do much of anything with it. It's almost like, you know what, we're gonna create this little committee, make it look like we doing something, and then if somebody says something, we can always put them up and say, well, look, we have a committee working on it. We got a group of people that are working on it. They report directly to the top echelons. And because of that, we're on it. We're working on it. We're going to, we got you. We're working on it. It's on our list. Okay. Now, back to this. Then it says at the heart of these accusations is this idea that we prioritize profit over safety and well being. That's just not true. For example, one move that has been called into question is when we introduce the meaningful social interactions change to the newsfeed. This change showed a fewer viral videos and more content from friends and family, which we did knowing it would mean people spent less time on Facebook, but that research suggested it was the right thing for people's well-being. Is that something a company focused on profits over people would do? Yeah. Uh-huh. Mhm. And you know why? Simply because at that particular time, Zuckerberg knew that engagement was getting lower on Facebook. Mhm. He knew. He could see the data better than we ever could. And so then he pushed our attention away from the pages and things of that nature, and then said, well, you know what, since y'all are not really engaging with business pages anyway, we'll just focus on conversations that you're having with friends and family. But you know your family. You know some of the drama that your family likes to spread throughout Facebook and wherever else, even offline. There's always that one you hate comes to the family reunion or comes to all the family events because they always got some gossip. It's good tea, but it's still not the best thing to be spreading all around the family reunion and the event, right? This ain't that much different. Zuckerberg understands out the gate when it comes to engagement, you got to keep the engagement going because once people realize the engagement lessens on the platform, people begin to leave. hmm And so this is around the time too we were all pushing everybody to watch videos. Video. And so people began watching videos on Facebook, but it's what we call passive engagement. It's like what you do when you watch TV at home. You're just looking, but you're not engaging. You're not liking. You're not commenting. You're not sharing. You're just looking or even lurking. That's not the engagement that Zuckerberg can take to the shareholders and say, look what's popping. Look at all the conversations that are going on the platform. Look at what the hot topics are. Because you remember that used to be a thing too on Facebook. And then they took that away as well because the conservatives were mad because they felt like they weren't getting enough shine. And so they had to get rid of that too. So at the end of the day, nobody was happy. But when it comes down to this engagement piece and why the engagement piece is so important is because of the data that is gleaned from the conversations. And the algorithm relies heavily on the engagement because that's how it feeds us content it thinks based on our interactions. It feeds what's in our news feed. Okay. So on one end, why would we do this if we weren't child by? Stop. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back over here. Okay. So it says the argument that we deliberately push content that makes people angry for profit is deeply illogical. Is it really? We make money from ads, and advertisers consistently tell us they don't want their ads next to harmful or angry content. And I don't know any tech company that sets out to build products that make people angry or depressed. The moral, business, and product incentives all point in the opposite direction. Let me read that again. It says the argument that we deliberately push content that makes people angry for profits is deeply illogical. Okay, let's break that down. So we know the engagement. So this is a psychology game, people. If you haven't figured that out by now, let's keep it 100. When it gets down to the engagement piece on Facebook and social media in general, we're being pushed to share content that keeps the engagement going. What kinds of content keeps engagement going? It's not all the time the good stories, the fun stories, your little baby doing this or Junior doing that, or the grandma that gets her degree at 102 years old. That's not what gets sometimes the viral engagement. What gets the viral engagement is controversy. We all know controversy sells. We know that. Why do you think you have the new? Well, I'm about to say something that's going to make some of my journalist friends a little, a little salty. But at the end of the day, look at the news. Now, I can say this because I worked in news. Look at the news. There's a reason why you get that little sliver of a human interest story, and the rest of the news is not the most positive. Okay? If we had positive news all the time, what do you think would happen? Mm-hmm. Exactly. So when you start thinking about why would we push content that deliberately makes people angry, it may not be that you are deliberately doing it, but at the end of the day, you understand the business end of it. Because once again, you know that certain content gets the best engagement, and that controversy and contrast comparison, things that spark conversation, things that make you emote and feel some kind of way, that's the content that gets the most engagement. So even though Facebook may not be creating that content, but you damn sure have been helpful in creating a space for it, creating a place for it. And that's been documented, and we know that. So let's go back. All right, so I'm not going to read too much more of this because y'all can read it for yourselves. He says if we're going to have an informed conversation about the effects of social media on young people, it's important to start with a full picture. We're committed to doing more research ourselves and making more research publicly available. That said, I'm worried about the incentives that are being set here. We have an industry leading research program so that we can identify important issues and work on them. It's disheartening to see that work taken out of context and used to construct a false narrative that we don't care. We attack organizations making an effort to study their impact on the world. We're effectively sending the message that it's safer not to look at all in case you find something you could. Well, what? That's a lot of words. It's quite verbose. If we attack organizations making an effort to study their impact on the world, we're effectively sending the message that it's safer not to look at all in case you find something that could be held against you. That's the conclusion other companies seem to have reached, And I think that leads to a place that could be far worse for society, even though it might be easier for us to follow the path. We're going to keep doing research because it's the right thing to do. Okay, you know what? At some point, you can stop doing the damn research. Um, you got research, Zuck. You got plenty of research, a plenty. At what point do you take action on what you got already? Is the question. You got plenty of research, and that's documented. You've been doing research for years now. And then when you do the research and the committees and the groups or whatever within the organization report to you their findings, nothing changes. Oh, you get a little something something that makes it look like it's going to make a grand impact, but it doesn't change anything. Real, and we know how, and there's proof to that because we could look at how Facebook is being used for elections, for the insurrection at the White House. If Zuck had really put some things in place, how Facebook was used to recruit, how Facebook is being used for human trafficking, how Facebook was used not too long ago in Ethiopia to basically do some what we call not gentrification. What's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Genocide. That's the word I'm looking for. Then, if Zuck and the whole crew were really willing to do some things and put some things in place, then it wouldn't be so easy to use the platform for bad and use the platform for more good. If indeed you're looking at all the research that you've accumulated over the years and really enforced some things. So I wanted to be, I wanted y'all to see what he has to say about it. But at the end of the day, some of this it just sounds like how much more research do you need to do before you actually do something? Okay. So, let me go over here. Let's see a little bit of what the response was because I'm curious to that too. Can we get this post fact check, please? The lesson has been taught. The whole world is on its knees pleading. Okay. As you say, the issue isn't about what you're actually doing, but about the perception. Many employees and users no longer fully trust this platform. The best way to change this dynamic would be to ensure users' interests and employees' their interests are represented on the board. This gives them true power to ensure their concerns are heard and addressed while offering perspectives, yada, yada, yada. Uh, it's time to make a change. Indeed. Indeed. I'm not reading that essay. Can someone drop a summary in 2 sentences? That is the world we live in, people. I'm not reading this essay. Can someone drop a summary in 2 sentences? Which is interesting too, because you would have thought he would have done a video, but a video would have required probably some a prompter. And then when you're on a prompter, you also don't look like you're. It looks rehearsed. So he was damned if he did, damned if he didn't, as far as video is concerned. Because trying to say all of that in the video, it probably wouldn't have come off looking genuine either. But let's move on because I want to wrap this up real quick. So let me show you a little bit of what Frances had to say during this is the whistleblower doing her Senate hearing. Let's do this. There you go.
Much, Ms. Haugen, for shedding a light on how Facebook time and time again has put profit over people. When their own research found that more than 13% of teen girls say that Instagram made their thoughts of suicide worse, what did they do? They proposed Instagram for Kids, which has now been put on pause because of public pressure. When they found out that their algorithms are fostering polarization, misinformation, and hate, that they allowed 99% of their violent content to remain unchecked on their platform, including lead up to the January 6th insurrection. What did they do? They now, as we know, Mark Zuckerberg's going sailing and saying no apologies. I think the time has come for action, and I think you are the catalyst for that action. You have said privacy legislation is not enough. I completely agree with you. But I think you know we have not done anything to update our privacy laws in this country, our federal privacy laws. Nothing, zilch, in any major way. Why? Because there are lobbyists around every single corner of this building that have been hired by the tech industry. We have done nothing when it comes to making the algorithms more transparent, allowing for the university research that you referred to. Why? Because Facebook and the other tech companies are throwing a bunch of money around this town and people are listening to them. We have done nothing significantly past, although we are on a bipartisan basis working in the antitrust subcommittee to get something done on consolidation, which you understand allows the dominant platforms to control all this, like the bullies in the neighborhood, buy out the companies that maybe could have competed with them and added the bells and whistles. So the time for action is now. So I'll start with something that I asked Facebook's head of safety when she testified before us last week. I asked her how they estimate the lifetime value of a user for kids who start using their products before they turn 13. She evaded the question and said, that's not the way we think about it. Is that right, or is it your experience that Facebook estimates and puts a value on how much money they get from users in general? I'll get to kids in a second. Is that a motivating force for them?
Based on what I saw in terms of allocation of integrity spending, so one of the things disclosed in the Wall Street Journal was that I believe it's like 87% of all the misinformation spending is spent on English, but only about like 9% of the users are English speakers. It seems that Facebook invests more in users who make them more money, even though the danger may not be evenly distributed based on profitability.
Does it make sense that having a younger person get hooked on social media at a young age makes them more profitable over the long term as they have a life ahead of them?
Facebook's internal documents talk about the importance of getting younger users, for example, tweens, onto Instagram, like Instagram Kids, because they need to have, they know that children bring their parents online and things like that. And so they understand the value of younger users for the long-term success of Facebook.
Facebook reported advertising revenue to be $51.58 per user last quarter in the US and Canada. When I asked Ms. Davis how much of that came from Instagram users under 18, she wouldn't say. Do you think that teens are profitable for their company?
I would assume so, based on advertising for things like television. You get much substantially higher advertising rates for customers who don't yet have preferences or habits. And so I'm sure they are some of the more profitable users on Facebook, but I do not work directly on that.
Another major issue that's come out of this, eating disorders.
Okay. So as you can see there's a lot to unpack right there about Facebook, Instagram, looking at the future of things and the future profitability of things. So here's another little piece that I want you to see from that trial. One more little piece, and then we will wrap this show up.
Do you think they are deliberately designing their product to be addictive beyond even that content?
Facebook has a long history of having a successful and very effective growth division where they take little tiny tweaks and they constantly are trying to optimize it to grow. Those kinds of stickiness could be construed as things that facilitate addiction.
Right. Last thing I'll ask is we've seen this same kind of content in the political world. You brought up other countries and what's been happening there. On 60 Minutes, you said that Facebook implemented safeguards to reduce misinformation ahead of the 2020 election, but turned off those safeguards right after the election. And you know that the insurrection occurred January 6th. Do you think that Facebook turned off the safeguards because they were costing the company money, because it was reducing profits?
Facebook has been emphasizing a false choice. They've said the safeguards that were in place before the election implicated free speech. The choices that were happening on the platform were really about how reactive and twitchy was the platform, right? Like how viral was the platform. And Facebook changed those safety defaults in the run-up to the election because they knew they were dangerous. And because they wanted that growth back, they wanted the acceleration of the platform back after the election, they returned to their original defaults. And the fact that they had to break the glass on January 6th and turn them back on, I think that's deeply problematic.
Agree. Thank you very much for your bravery in coming forward.
Okay, that's it, people. So at the end of the day, there's a lot to look at, there's a lot to learn there. But at the end of the day, the question becomes, how does this change how you use Facebook? Will it change how you use Facebook at all? From what I'm seeing, because a lot of people, some of this went in one ear and out the other because it doesn't impact their day to day life. And I get that. You got other things to think about, you got other things to worry with, and this may appear to be something that's minor. It doesn't impact how you eat, it doesn't impact where you work, it doesn't impact your life, but it does impact your life in ways you may not realize. Because how you communicate or how we communicate with each other through these platforms is somewhat manipulated. But I want to say too, I'm not trying to make Facebook the poster child for all things that's wrong in social media. As I've said before, everything that we're talking about that has been wrong in social media can also be said for traditional media. And it's just interesting to me. This is a case of the pot calling the kettle black, as our grandmothers used to say. We've had these same issues in media for generations, and we're having this particular problem right now with social media because we use social media differently. The biggest difference is now, instead of major corporations producing the messaging, it's now we as individuals. We are our own media outlets now. We are the producers, we are the directors, we are the editors, and now we have these tools that allow us to put negative messages, to create controversy, to do all of these negative things on these free platforms. But at the end of the day, I say just be wise, people, in how you use these tools. When you are using Facebook or any social media platform, don't be so quick to jump in. Now, I know you're looking at me like, I can't believe you're saying this as a social media, professional. But this is stuff I've always been saying, especially over the last, I'd say, 5 to 7 years. Get to the point where you don't have to rely so heavily on social media to do business and to talk to your family. What did you do before social media? Some of you may not be able to imagine life before social media, but for those of us who are old enough, we know what life was before social media. So if you're going to be using social media, please think about what you are putting in these posts. Think about what you're sharing and how you share it and how you're going to use these platforms. I'm not saying that Facebook is the boogeyman of social media at all. Any platform could be guilty of some of the stuff that Facebook is being accused of via Instagram. But at the end of the day, I guarantee you other platforms are looking at this and saying we got to get our beat together before people realize we could fall into this same issue that Facebook is experiencing right now. And as a social media marketer, I feel some kind of way. Indeed I do, because I want my clients to realize that there is more to marketing than just social media. I want my clients to realize there's so much work involved, but I also want my clients to realize to look beyond just Facebook. Social media is not just Facebook. Also, I want my clients, and I've been telling them this for years, and even in my classes and workshops, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Make sure you always have another way of getting in contact with your audience and with your customer base. My big question now is to other marketers. Does this change how we are going to uh, present Facebook to clients? Are we still going to present Facebook as the go-to platform for all things business? Are we going to start looking at more than just Facebook and pushing people, not necessarily pushing people, but enlightening them to how to do social media marketing even without Facebook? It can be done. People are doing it all the time. So, as marketers, what is the conversation? I know a lot of us are having these conversations privately on the low low, but why not have them publicly? Because at some point, some people may look at us as, we're training the next generation of business owners and marketing and things of that nature. So why are we not having these conversations publicly about these platforms and these tools that we use? We do it in television. We don't like to do it in television, but the same thing, like I said before, the same things that we're worried about with Facebook, we've been worried about with traditional media for generations. And television has had to make some changes over the years. Television has had to come up and straighten up and do better over the years. And we've been to plenty of conferences and everything else where we talk publicly about what is going on right and what's going on not so well in television, news, and journalism. So, why not? Why are we not talking about this publicly as social media and marketing professionals? It ain't a secret. And at the end of the day, we could help create the solutions to some of these issues that people are seeing on the platform. So that's it, people. I'm out. It took all day to get this show done. It's not the show that I had wanted to do, but it's a show I got done. For those of you that came the first 3 times that I tried to do this show, I thank you. Me and the internet, we yeah, let me stop talking before it shuts down again. But I thank everybody for coming through. Comments, questions about what was said or seen today, put it in the comments or slide into the DMs or the private messaging you want. If you want to do that and leave it there, let me know your thoughts. I really, really honestly do want to know if indeed what you've seen today, what you've learned about Facebook, does it change anything, or is it just going to be business as usual? Will you let your children continue using Instagram, or will, especially for those of you that are parents with teenagers, including teenage boys, will you now look at the platforms a little carefully and the usage? Or again, will it be business as usual? I just want to know which way you're going with it. No judgment either way. I just want to get a sense of where we are with this issue that ain't gonna go away anytime soon. All right, so that's it. It's a wrap. And once again, I don't know where my clapboard is. I cleaned up so well. I don't know where my clapboard is. Isn't that a damn shame? I don't know where my clapboard is. Oh well. And it's a wrap. That's what we do when we don't have the clapboard. Happy Friday, people. Have a good weekend. I'll see you next week. Same time, same place, same profiles. All right, I'm out. If I can find my clothes, I'm out. Here we go.